Welcome back, everybody, to another show, another episode of Recruitment Uncensored. You should all know me by now. I'm your host, Kate, and I've got another amazing guest on with me today, Kath Reynolds, who is co-founder of Balance Recruitment, this is going to be a bit of a theme for the show today, but you set up the business, co-founded the business, didn't you, without any background in recruitment? Have I got that right?
Not being a recruiter. I had worked in finance and recruitment, but I've never recruited a day in my life.
Yeah. And I suppose a lot of people watching that have founded recruitment businesses will have had a different background to that. So I know you're going to bring a really different and high value perspective on it today. Anybody watching, if you've watched before, you'll know I take live comments, take live questions. So get involved. If you've got something you want to ask Kath as we're chatting, chuck it in there. Or if you've just got a comment about something we've said, get involved, and I'll bring as much of them up on the screen as I can. If we miss anything, we'll come back to it after the show finishes anyway. So we'll always answer it. But yeah, today we're talking about behind the billings, why your recruitment numbers really matter. Now, I'm not the best with numbers, so I'm also interested in this because I'm a bit number dyslexic. So I think I'm probably going to learn a hell of a lot today as well. But let's get cracking on the first question. So let's start with this. As you said, you came in with finance experience in recruitment, but not having been a recruiter. So what sort of challenges did that bring you when you co-founded the business?
Well, so I always wanted to set up my own business and I didn't know what. And obviously my background's finance. And it was until 2000 I had my first role in recruitment. And that was for Robert Walters in Sydney, in Australia, and ran their New Zealand offices. And it was then that I went, oh my God, this is it. I can do finance, but be with people, constant people contact, and also explain numbers to people who don't know. That's the favorite part of my job, trying to translate numbers to non-numbers people. And most founders, as you would know, if you do a stat on it, I don't actually know, must be 99.9% of recruitment founders are recruiters that set up the business. Why would you as a finance person go, I'm going to do recruitment? So task at hand, I knew what the industry I wanted to do. I had to find someone who was a top biller. My things were top biller, respect the database, and acknowledge the importance of someone like me at startup. So that took a while. And then, Richard and I set up 17 years ago.
So did you set up while you were still in Sydney, or did you come over to the UK at that point?
I'd come back to the UK, and then it was about a 2-year business plan, doing behind the scenes, came up with the name, launched just as global financial crisis hit. So that was
ideal,
great timing. But from a challenge perspective, besides running a small business for 17 years in any sector is, massive.
Yeah, it's tough.
But it's because I'm finance and I'm not recruit. You get doubters, people doubting your expertise in the industry. And, I've been there 25 years. So, observation is a powerful tool, as well as knowing numbers. And as you would know, even if people sort of shy away from, I don't understand numbers, it's not my thing, let the number. But if you just embrace the numbers, it doesn't always just have to be revenue, profit. I mean, they're key, triggers for how to run a business successfully. But understanding that practically everything in recruitment is a number of sorts. You get your KPIs, they're numbers of sorts. I'm not even talking about traditional, CV to interview rate. There's 1,000 numbers, and if you start to embrace them and enjoy them, it makes business really simple. Like, it's not hard. Recruitment is a really lovely, simple business model that you can actually really, because it's simple to account for, means you can have the time to dig in and look at the processes, and that's what numbers allows you to do. So some people do dismiss you as a bit of you're just number cruncher. How could you possibly know the ins and outs of recruitment?
How could you understand?
And then you don't need to be to understand recruitment and to love it and to see what works and what doesn't work. And it just means how closely I've had to work with the recruiters over the years. You also get a bit of it's negative Nelly coming in, because salespeople, we love them, don't we? Yeah, I'm going to do this this year I'm going to smash my targets. Yeah, add on another 100 grand from last year for sure. Okay, awesome. Let's just talk through how. Yeah. And okay, and then I come in and I do, that's really good. Well, what we're going to do, we're going to do a realistic one now. And then we might meet halfway. And then it's sort of always like you're giving bad news, but you're not. Because if you explain that actually realism show transparency, what we're going to achieve together is a better profitable business, more in the pot to go around. So it's
probably more likely to happen as well. So you've got, because I used to do this as a consultant, I would be like, oh, I'm going to do this year. And, you know, I'd be asked the how, and it's like, oh, I just will. And it's like, you're more likely to not get there, but also you're more, you know, actually, if you're being unrealistic and you're made to bring it more to a more realistic figure, you're more likely to achieve it and not feel like a failure or, you know, so actually there's the benefit to it.
Yeah. And mentally, you can go, I'm actually going to smash that. Yeah. She's going to be wrong, you know, bringing that down by whatever. Or you won't get under review if your then line manager says, okay, you want to stick with that? Because that's what we're going to review you on every month, whatever. You're just going to feel like you're never hitting target anyway.
Yeah.
It's not a nice place to be. The other thing is when things aren't looking healthy in the business, because I'm not a recruiter, I can't go, right, back on the tools, pass me the phone, here we go. But right. And that's what a lot of obviously recruiters can do. But I was thinking about that. I was thinking, I think that's why we're still here. Because I can't. Richard, obviously, sales director, completely focused on billing, frontline. And because I don't or can't, I work on the business while he's in it. And so many people say to me, oh, I can't
balance each other out.
I need to step away. I need to work on the business. I can't do the day-to-day. And it's because I'm doing that in the background. He's doing the foreground. And then actually, when it isn't healthy, I only share so much information because you don't want to share too. I don't want to also get him mentally, oh, shit. He's got to be, oh, yeah, everything's going right. You know, it's not like I'm going to just make up numbers, but I'll just go, crack on, keep going, have a chat next week. Meanwhile, I'm in the background working on,
I think that's a really clever move that you did, because in essence, you could have set up on your own if you wanted to.
Yeah.
But you sort of looked for somebody that had that criteria you mentioned at the start, and you've naturally balanced each other out really well. Because I know for me, I love working on my business, but having the time to do it, I struggle with. And when I do try and set time aside to do it, I have this feeling of guilt because I'm sort of like, this is really enjoyable and fun, but it feels like I'm not working, and then I'm not delivering, so I feel like I'm not making money, and all these things
doing this
really difficult. It's such a hard balancing act.
Yeah.
So the fact that you've got you that can do that, and your co-founder that can go off and just carry on the tools and get amongst it is probably, like you say, what's kept you going.
You've got to fully obviously trust each other to do the role and respect that each other brings as much value to the business as each other, right? And I don't generate revenue, but I bring it equal I bring it equal value to the business and have done the whole 17 years, because otherwise we wouldn't be here. Do you know what I mean? It just takes more than a recruiter with a laptop and that to get through these recessions, financial crisis, COVID, you know.
Yeah.
When he couldn't work, I still could. So you're doing background stuff, you're doing database stuff, you're doing strategy, you're still talking to suppliers. Yeah. When you couldn't ring up a client and say, do you want to hire anyone? Because no one was hiring. No. So I think that's, So looking back, people might think, oh, that's a bizarre model. But it's worked.
Yeah. And just quickly before we move on to the next question, because this, you said you had doubters.
Yes.
What sort of people, what was it, who was doubting you at those points? If you had sort of, is it being prospective clients, people in the business, where have you experienced that doubt?
Well, peers really, and competitors. And when you're having discussion, when you're networking groups and stuff like that, and you're having panel discussions or whatever, there used to be where you join a group of recruitment business owners. I mean, I'm going back, I don't know, 8 or 10 years. And you sort of, when you gave your history, you're like, All right. Okay. So I sort of got swept over a bit.
Mm.
Again, in my own business, it's funny. Like it's never been massive. Like as I said to you before, it's about 12 was our biggest, and if we had 6 to 8 consultants in a room, or I was giving a sales meeting, you would see a few eyes roll. Oh, yeah, is Kath in the numbers? Yeah, she doesn't do recruitment, and that's my
Yeah.
business. So that makes me think now. Imagine, and I do have live experience at the moment with some mentees. How hard it is to be heard as a
Mm.
finance leader in a recruitment firm. Really, like if it's your own business, and I sometimes felt, oh, they're not listening, or they're dismissive. Yeah, we'll do that. Take the notes. Then I send the review, a week later, who's done that? Oh, yeah, we've been too busy recruiting. Like, oh my God. Yeah. So
Mm.
it's kind of a battle. I mean,
That actually leads me into what I was going to ask you next, because what I was going to come to next is, like you just it highlighted there, the importance of it, not just from the leadership perspective, but actually from a consultant perspective. The numbers matter, don't they? So why, obviously from your experience, why does it matter that both those parties understand it?
are on board, definitely. So, well, first of all, from like leadership or business owner, founder, it's important. I think, I keep saying embrace, but like just partner with someone who, if you don't understand and you go, oh, that's a numbers thing, I'm not numbers. You don't have to become numbers. You don't have to retrain, but try and get someone who can just sort of explain, layman
Mm.
terms. As I said, it's simple. Business is quite simple, and recruitment model is quite simple, but consultant I think is key. I was on a podcast with Leisha Holmes recently, and she said if she could do anything, she'd control alt delete the recruitment industry and make every consultant like their own little mini business within the business, which is
Yeah.
brilliant. And it makes them accountable. But if you show full transparency, and again, a lot of business owners and think, oh, they can't know the full P&Ls, let's just give them top line figures and stuff. They can probably work it out. Do you know what I mean? Like all the top line figures are on the board. Oh, there you
Go on
go.
Company's House and see the account. I
Right.
know they're not
They're
recent, but
abbreviated,
just
but
have a look.
that's your revenue. If you're all on this relatively similar commission scheme, not that hard. Percentage. You know what I mean? You all know how much a job board costs or your recruiter license on LinkedIn. Whatever. Like, just share it and just say, um, you know, these are the numbers. And almost, I think that's when businesses can really flourish, because it's, as I said, simple to explain. They invest in you because you're investing in them. You're sharing the numbers, showing transparency, showing trust, giving autonomy, and going, you run your desk. And also, maybe here are some key things that you need to look at. And you can incentivize them. It doesn't actually have to be part of the commission scheme. Pardon me. But you can incentivize people. Like we used a system in Balance, back when we had more consultant, Balance bank account, right? So my favorite topic at the moment is, what is the average lifespan of your placement? And it starts when the role comes on. Well, actually, it starts when you're negotiating before you accept to take the vacancy on, right? That's the starting point. Then when it's on, it's your pipeline. Then when you've got an offer, it's your work in progress, and debtor, cash at bank, working capital, right? So at each point, there's stages that you can really drill down, and you could even say to a consultant, well, this quarter, let's work on, I don't know, negotiation, try and get 1% up on your average fee. I don't know, give it a stab. Every time you do that, it's so many points to this competition, and then you can redeem them at the end of the year for something. And healthy competition often works with
Oh yeah, I would have
recruiters,
loved
right?
that. If anything like that, I would have been all over it.
And if you don't bill that well, like if you haven't had a great quarter and your target, you can go, still nailed the balanced bank account, I've got an Apple Watch
Yeah,
coming
it's a
to me next
success
month.
they can celebrate.
Yeah. And because it can be based on, trying to get your payment terms agreed to, or if you say, oh my God, I got a client accepted invoice on offer, not on start date. That's 500 points right there. You know, you're halfway to a free lunch.
Yeah.
But then it gets them excited and the understanding of the whole process. And then you go, do you see at each stage, if we just make little adjustments,
Little tweaks sometimes make the biggest difference, but
yeah,
that's what gets missed. And I think honestly, when I started, I didn't have a clue, right, about I knew my process I needed to follow, but I didn't have a clue about the numbers, how they worked. I remember I didn't have a clue how my commission worked. I just got given a printout. Every time I placed somebody, showing me what my commission would be. I didn't understand what the hell was on that piece of paper. Not a clue. I was lucky in my second agency, they gave us a spreadsheet with all the formulas in, and we'd put in the name of the person, the salary, what was agreed, or anything. And it worked out with the tiered system we had, our commission.
right.
And I loved that because I knew if I went in the beginning
Right.
of the month and thought I want to make, I don't know, 10 grand bonus, I know how many people I need to place. And it started to help me understand the numbers, how many people I need to put into X amount of rock. Do you know what I mean? I started to get it. But yeah, if early on, if I could be partnered with somebody that understood the numbers and got it earlier,
But
that running
even
a
if
business within a business could have happened.
massively, and then if you go, you know, as I said, they want to then invest in you and they will stay because they're part of the business. You know, we had great retention, but before, during COVID, we had to lose two of our biggest, longest standing, and they were 9 years and 8 years at a tiny recruitment firm. Like that's unheard of. So they're invested in the business. You're explaining it as you go. And if you think, say last year, say for example, you go, oh, look, these are your placements. What is your average? What was your percentage? You know, and you say 20%. Okay. This is your total billings. That was your commish. Yeah. And then you go, what if you sold that at 22? How would that have affected your bank account? That makes them more invested to do the negotiation at the beginning when they're talking to the client about terms.
And yeah, and see that 2%, because to some people 2%, they might think, oh, it's 2%, it's nothing, but actually it
How many
is.
years billings? You kidding?
Yeah.
Then translate that, and that could, if you're on a tiered system, like that's what we are in balance. You know, if you're on a tiered, that could send you into the next level where you're getting 37.5% bonus, not 35. You know, that's huge. So it's not just the 2%; it's the increase in the tier.
I suppose doing it that way makes your job easier, doesn't it? Because
and also more enjoyable. No, and how are numbers not fun? Because it makes things so much clearer, right? You're going, oh, we're all this goal, this will change. And who doesn't like more numbers at the end of the month in their bank account? Do you know what I mean? Don't say you're not a numbers person.
I do.
You bloody love it, right? And what you said before, tweak, that's what I'm all about. Because I have to say, this pivot thing, unless you pivot, you're dead in the water. You know, you won't survive. That actually means changing everything you do. Try tweaking, fine adjustments, right? And then just go, I'm going to tweak. When's the last time you looked at your pricing model? I might just tweak that. Will that work? I'll look what that did. It doesn't have to be, it can be little tweaks every 3 months and go, oh no, let's try that stage and we'll do that. I just think this, oh my God, do something new, turn it around, you know, completely change your model. Well,
yeah.
If it's worked for you to now, there's obviously some good bits. Let's work on those and tweak the others.
Do the tweaks first, and then if it, you know, then think about pivoting. But yeah, I think where, you know, what you talking about, that business, that sort of balanced bank account then, or whatever it was called, I was sort of thinking, oh my God, I would have loved something like that. I would have been all over it like a rash.
Because you do that and bill. You
Yeah.
still got your bank account points going up, and then you get a monthly
it all leads to the billings, doesn't it? It's about positive behaviours related to the numbers, isn't it?
Yes.
But we sort of touched on it a tiny little bit, but I suppose there might be people watching that are on the same page as you, or they get what you're saying. They're like, yeah, that's great, I'm on board. But when you've got even just one or two people in a team, it's about sort of translating that to everyone else, isn't it? Or a business partner if you're working with someone else. Now, obviously, your business partner wasn't, well, I don't know,
no,
as
it's
numbers.
not finance.
Yeah. So how can people translate this sort of thing to the people they're working with? Because everybody needs to be on board, don't they?
So the thing I just always say, speak their language, and that sounds a bit
Love
patronising,
that.
doesn't it? But I'm not qualified accountant. I'm qualified by experience, and so this is why I think this is my favourite bit of the job, because I love explaining it, and if I can't explain it the first time, I try again, and I try again, and you reword it, and you go, if I didn't know anything, and because I'm not textbook Kate, I don't use those terms. So you do need someone, and I do get why some business owners who are, really good at recruitment, they send their accounts off, they just get it and they go, okay, where do I file that?
That's me.
What should I do next year? Increase my profit? Do you know what I mean? I get it. I get that they go, oh, ugh. And they just see all the lines. They go, I don't even know what that means. Then someone says, oh, that's your gross margin. They go, is that good? What should I be aiming for? And I fully love, so it's about partnering with someone, I think, first of all, who you don't have to have a full-time business partner. Like, you can get someone, well, like me, but ad hocly, and go, can you just come in and explain this just before I, just a few hours where you sit down and you explain to someone, this is how it affects you. And if you sort of translate it into, everyone does accounts at home, really, without even knowing it, right? We all go, oh, shit, I can't spend that much this month. Because, it's not, as I said, it's quite simple, but also giving them ownership. So once you translate it, and if they don't understand, you give them ownership and you go, but if you achieve that, and in small steps, like you said, like sometimes it's overwhelming and you go, I don't even know what she's talking about. You go, okay, well, let's just focus on percentage this month. Let's focus next month on payment terms. Let's focus the next month. And then you show them how that's affected the P&L at the end of it. The mini desk P&L, and then you go there. And that's profit. And then, even if you wanted to give them a profit share on that and call it mini dividend, whatever, then you get the investment and the enthusiasm. And it's not us and them.
You know what I think this would massively benefit as well, which just came to my mind, is one of the things for me, not enough consultants, when they're doing things like their business development calls with clients, not enough of them have a strategic sort of business call. So it's very much about, what sort of people do you need? When are you going to next be hiring? Blah, 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 which is boring for the client. I know we need to ask it at some point, but it's boring. But can you imagine, I always say to people, it's so powerful when you're speaking to these business leaders about, like, what are the plans for the business over the next 3, 6, 9 months? How are you going to deal with this? What are your busy seasons and not? And do you know, like, more financial related questions? If they've got that knowledge from the stuff that you're talking about, they're going to be able to translate that into even their conversations with candidates. It depends what the market is, but.
And then you're partnering with your clients more, right? So you're talking at their level, or what, I know there's, different hiring, different sectors, different levels and all this, but let's just be generic and go, I'm talking to a client and I can give them a bit more discussion with numbers and then hear their numbers. And then guess what? That makes up the business plan you're submitting to me next month to do your targets. You kidding? Because I'm like, okay, that's great. Doing 200 grand this year. And how are you doing that? You go, well, actually, because I've spoken to these 10 clients, they've got this many hiring going on. I know the average fee there is this. They'll want this level of da-da-da. That's how I know, Kath. Boom. And I absolutely awesome. Then they're happy, I'm happy, right? And then they also have something to then call back the client on.
Yeah.
And go, our chat 2 months ago, we were thinking you probably might need a financial accountant around this time of year, whatever, whoever it is. How's that looking? Is that still on track for hiring? I've got a few people on my books. So it's just a constant, as I said, not us and them. We're all working towards the same goal. And also another nice way to translate is give them a graph. Add color. Graph.
Oh, a graph.
So
it's a grab then.
Did notice.
I was like, what?
I said, honestly, in sales meetings, Kate, you start getting, she's put a diagram up. Yep. Yeah. Now I got add some color.
That would work for me, to be honest with you.
Yep. And it works for me. I hate getting just big bloody, packages, monthly reporting things are going flick, flick, flick. And that's how you get people's attention, anyone's attention, even if you are finance. You go, just make one key point, because you can't tackle everything in the business, every bloody sales meeting or every board meeting, even if it is quarterly. You can't. You just go, one point, let's try and look at this. Everyone's up. We've got a little picture, hopefully doing that. Some colour, bang on. We'll discuss that again next meeting,
Yeah. Yeah, and I think a lot of people will feel less overwhelmed by a graph.
Yes, everyone gets it.
So it's easier to get them to understand those numbers initially and get them on board. But yeah, translate it. So
and then you say if you do that, you'll end up that, your bank account that, and everyone's going, I'm all good. We love numbers.
Sign me up. I'm going to come back to you in a second for a top tip. But just to do a quick roundup of the next show. Now, I know normally this is where I fuck up because I don't know the guest and I don't know the date. Genuinely, this is a true real life situation. I haven't made a mistake. The next guest I was meant to have on has had to move the date because something's come up. So she will be coming on, but in September, I believe. So I've got a different guest potentially in a couple of weeks. So I think it's going to be Kerry-Ann Hargreaves. She is founder of Consult KA. So that'll be 25th of June, normal time, 12:30, that we'll be going live. I've got a run of sort of female founders. So Kath's the first one. I sort of wanted to up the people that we had on the show that were very successful female founders, because I don't think we get highlighted enough in our industry. It's very male dominated at the top, isn't it? So this is the sort of run of guests I've got coming on. So yeah, it's looking like Kerry-Ann will be joining me 25th of June, 12:30, but you'll find out in a couple of weeks anyway. So don't be surprised if it might be someone else, but it's looking like it's Kerry-Ann. But yeah, coming back to you for your top tip, Kath, make the numbers count. Talk to me about this.
Literally that. First of all, don't do reporting for reporting's sake. I mean, I'm numbers. As boring as batshit. Make them count. If you're going to analyze something or you're going to look at something or drill down, then make it, this is why we're doing it. Like it can involve everyone.
Explain.
Yeah. And commercial decision. And don't, depending on the level, obviously so many of us are micro businesses and stuff like that. And they might actually go externally for accounting services. And as I said, probably just get a pack, file it, crack on. Make your numbers count. If you're going to spend money on getting someone to do your numbers or partner with your numbers, make them beneficial for your business straight away, like something you can implement or go, oh, no, that makes sense. Or if we tweak that this time next year, are you kidding? We're going on holiday 3 times. You know what I mean? Like there's a point to them. They just don't serve it. And, and I think that's why people do eye roll. Oh, I've got another board meeting. Here we go. There's a pack. Or you're going to see your accountant, whatever. I mean, my beginning of finance, I was in audit. I had to convince clients to like me. I mean, no one likes an auditor, let alone, accountant's one thing. Auditor, oh my God. But it's that then collaboration, working with people who aren't numbers people and just going, there's no, there is obviously a right or wrong what adds up, but there's no, why don't we try this? Yeah, actually, let's put that in. That looks like that would work, but we're obviously not 100% sure. Let's do it. Yeah. Just make the numbers count. Just don't do it for numbers, reporting for reporting's sake. It's like having meetings for, meeting's sake. It's a waste of time.
Yeah. And I think the biggest thing I've taken from this today, which I think is going to be so valuable to so many agencies, is the way it's translated to the team and how in getting them involved, because then those numbers are more likely to count, because you get those reports at, I don't know, director level or the senior leadership team, and nothing not every agency passes that on, and those reports go away, or the information stays up here, and it's like, actually, this is really powerful to get everybody involved and make the numbers count even more.
Get passed on, Kate, because they don't understand it at that level anyway.
Yeah, well, this is the problem.
So involve everyone,
Yeah. No, that I think there's a lot that people can, whether they're a small little agency or a bigger agency, there's a lot that people can take from that.
Yeah, and numbers are in all our size firms, there's just less of them in some of them. I should know.
Well, I know I need to, you know, I'm going to make an effort now with my own accountant to, I know she normally sends me an update quarterly or whatever, and I just read it, don't really understand it, and leave it there. As long as she tells me I'm doing all right, I don't care. But I'm going to actually, from now, my little action
Drill
point,
down.
get her to help me understand what it
Yeah,
means to translate it so I can start getting more out of it as well. So
exactly.
there we go.
It's a
That's my
wonderful
action point.
service. Yay.
Woo! I need to make an effort with it. But look, we've come to the end. It's already 1 o'clock. So thank you, everybody who's watched today. If you would like to, well, I would encourage you to connect with Kath if you haven't done so already while you've been watching. Easy to do. Go on the event for this show, and she's tagged as a speaker. So very easy to connect with her. If you've got any questions, anything you want to draw upon from the work, I'm going to say the workshop, the show today, drop her a line on LinkedIn because that's where she's at. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on, Kath. I've
Awesome.
learned a
Okay.
lot. So it's been a school day for me as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, join me back on the 25th with my next guest. Like I said, it's probably going to be Kerry Ann. I don't know what we'll be talking about yet, but it's another amazing female founder in our industry that's going to add loads of value. So definitely do not miss out. So I will see you in 2 weeks. See you
Cheers,
later.
Kate.